Good evening. Two hands to review. Hand number one is King 10 of Hearts. It gets folded around to Hijack, who open raises. He raises to two big blinds. As I've said in the past, I think this raise is very weak. You can effectively consider it a limp. They know they should be raising, but they don't really want to risk that extra money. So you can see raise first in, 14%. He could have limped. So I need to get a limping stat on here. But VPIP is 14% here. His raise first in is 14%. Pre-flop raise is 10% here. So I think he's probably coming in, sizing his ranges based on the strength of his hand. So let's take a look at what like 14% is. Say that's looks like 14.2. Let's get rid of some of these other hands. That's 13.4. Maybe all the suited aces. So that gives 15%. That could be a suitable range. Now let's scale it back based on his small size. So I assume most people will make a reasonable raise with those hands, and then everything else might be the smaller size. So now it's on us. What should we do? I don't think we can go just a call because it's just effectively like a limp. We can look at this guy. So if we call, then I have to assume the big blind's going to probably also call, and we go three-way. I do have position, which is okay, which is good, but I think it would do better if we isolate this player. So if we three bet, I think he's going to dump a lot of these hands, probably a lot of these suited aces. He'll probably call with the pocket pairs, which means he's going to be missing flop a lot, and then we'll just pick it up. So we'll get some, when he does call, we figure to be picking up pot on the flop quite a bit. So I do think we should raise, and we should probably make it at least 9 big blinds. I didn't do that, I just called, so I think that's a mistake. And then small blind comes along. So small blind's actually playing somewhat tight. 20 VPIP and then 8% pre-flop raise. From the small blind, his pre-flop calls is 22%. He hasn't three bet yet, so let's see what his range could be. Just say, well, 22%. We'll add at least the suited connectors. I think most players don't call with the offsuits. Maybe not even the offsuit broadways. Probably ace jack. I do think small blind might be calling with these suited one gappers. So that's 19.2%. Let's get rid of queens plus ace king. Are there other hands? For this player, I don't think he's going to play suited kings either. The stats just don't suggest that he'll play it. I'm going to add queens back in because I saw the big gap. So the gap between VPIP and pre-flop raise suggests that he's probably going to be a little bit more on the passive side. So probably with queens, he'll just be happy to call. So I think this is why we should have 3-bet. I think if we raise it here, it puts a pressure on this guy, and if he has a hand, he's probably going to be at the very top of his range if he calls at all. And really, I don't expect him to call. If he calls, it'll be queens, jacks, tens. That's it. So flop comes king high with 2 spades. So king of clubs, 9-7 of spades. We hit our top pair. We do have some backdoor straight draws, but we have to dodge the spades. So villain 13 checks. I'm going to say he's probably going to check his entire range. I don't have any information on him leading out here. And then this player c-bets. So I have him c-betting out of position 1 out of 6 times. I have him c-betting in position 100% of times. So when we look at this player, I'm going to guess that he's probably restricting his bets to, at least pocket pairs. He could be probably doing it with the flush draw, maybe. Could be that out of position c-bet is just he, bad flops. So, 5 times it was a bad flop, or he ended up getting multi-way and wasn't going to c-bet into a large number of individuals. So I think what we'll do is add top pair. I think we'll add this tens pocket pair below the top card. I don't think middle pair. I don't think ace 9 would necessarily c-bet here. He may just check call, and that's I kind of feel like pocket pair below top pair might do that as well. We do have flush draw here, open ended straight draw. I don't think gut shot's gonna call, and we'll leave in these combos. So 29% c-betting. That's kind of in line with his 17% here. What should we do? Definitely, I think we can call here. I think he does have some flush draws. And when you look at his flush draws, he has all of those aces, kings. We basically, with these flush draws, we have equity on them. So I think we should call. I don't think we should really raise here, even though he may have the spade. I think if we raise and then he shoves, we're not going to be able to call, and it puts us at a disadvantage because he may be shoving with ace queen of spades. So I kind of think a call is a little bit more appropriate. And then this player comes along, so he checks and calls. I'm going to guess a set or two pair would have raised. Top pair could call. We're going to leave these draws in. I think I'm going to leave the middle pairs for him and probably the pocket pair below the top card. So that's 8. Eights. And these bottom pairs, maybe not ace 7, but I'm not going to take it out. So I think we'll leave him calling with pairs. I don't think he'll call with those. I don't think he'll call one more bet with those. So we can eliminate them later in the hand. Turns at 4 of diamonds. Villain 13 checks. So again, I'm going to say he's going to check his entire range. Now this player checks, guy that had the lead, and at that point, I'm going to take the sets out. I'm going to take top pairs out. I do think top pair would have continued firing, and that means he's going to have weak pair, no mate hand, and these draws. And the flush draws, we do have to take out the kings, because I think he would have been betting those. King, queen, king, jack, king, 10 of spades. So we take those out, and that means he's got 36.8% of hands in his range. We are definitely well above that, above him. What about this player? You can see we're going to be behind almost all of his top pair hands, but then he has a bunch of these other cards. I think now is the time. I didn't like the raise on the flop, but now we should bet here, and I think we should bet fairly sizably, because if a hand's going to call, they're calling, and they need to draw to catch. So there's really no reason to size down and encourage calls. I think the hands were already going to call to begin with. So I bet pot, and I actually like that. I'm glad I did. And Villain 13 calls. So when he calls, what is he going to call with? We'll say he calls with top pair, and then he's only going to be calling with his flush draw, open and straight draws. So he's going to call with that, and you can see he can have king, queen, king, jack, king, 10 of spades. He can have those, and he has this open-ended straight draw. So we're going to be, there's a chance that he has this here with the kings, but I can't worry too much about it. And then Villain 11 folds, and that just kind of means he's got those, probably doesn't have a flush draw, so maybe he had gut shots, maybe he had, open-ended straight draws. And maybe we were wrong with his c-betting range. Maybe his c-bet included all those other pairs, or maybe even just, ace queen, ace jack. So maybe we didn't have a proper read on his range, because I do think he would have been calling those. And ace 4 spade, all of those spades would call. I think all of those spades would call. Yeah. So perhaps we didn't quite have his c-betting range correct. And we had king 10 of hearts. So let's see how we do. Right here we're at, you can see 54%. So he's calling with the worst of it. 5 of clubs hits. Not the greatest. I mean, we dodge all of the spades, and I'd say he's probably has more spades than he has open-ended straight draws. Especially he would have needed the 6-8 for that. He checks, and now the question is, if I bet, what worst hands are going to call? I don't think any worst hand is going to call. I don't think weak pairs, these aces, I don't think any of that is going to call. So I think it just benefits us to check behind and take the showdown, which we did. And we won it, and Villain 13 didn't show because this was a time when we didn't get to see the mucked hands. So I'm going to say that we're probably at, that spade draw, and probably for this guy, maybe ace queen, maybe one of these suited aces. Suited kings, I think would have he had me on there. All right, so this is hand number 1. Let me close it out and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is pocket 10s. So under the gun raises to 5. He's playing 38-13. Right now, you can see his 3-bet range is actually pretty wide. So this guy's going to be more of a loose, somewhat aggressive player. Definitely, his 3-bets are going to be more linear, stronger. He calls 2 bets from the blinds. You can see 6-2 spades, ace-7 off, queen-6 off. Called 3 bets in position with 7s, called 3 bets out of position, jack-10 off, limp and called to raise. So he limped with 8s, king-2 suited, queen-8 suited, queen-jack, limped and re-raised this ace-king suited. So if he limped and called to raises with 8, we're going to say that his range is probably going to be, or his raising range. And for raising that big, it could be like that. And we have 10s. And our question is, should we 3-bet isolate or should we just fold? I think if we raise, he's going to be calling probably with a lot of these hands. And then we're going to be stuck. We're going to probably have to c-bet. I do see here his c-bet stats. 50% out of position, 25% in position. So I think he's kind of aggressive and tries to pick up pots pre-flop, and then we'll give them up on the flop if he doesn't hit anything. So if this is this tight pre-flop raise under the gun and raising for 5 big blinds, then I think what we could do is call. Now, if we look at what we have versus that range, we are at 48.5%. So I think if we raise here, he's probably calling with jacks, with 9s, jacks, maybe queens. I think he'll 3-bet or 4-bet, probably definitely kings plus, possibly queens, and I think that allows us to fold. If he 3-bets ace king, then we kind of have 50-50 chance. There's 16 of those, but only 12 of the aces and kings, so we could probably get all in. And I think that's fine because, looking at a stack, he only has 33 left. So he raises to 5, I raise to 15, and if he comes over the top, and just shoves all in, I think we could probably call if we assume he's going to do that with ace king, or even wider, and we will get the odds then to call. So here, I don't think I'm going to worry too much about other people calling. I think we can play our hand aggressively post-flop, and I think he'll give us information post-flop about where we stand. But then again, I do think raising might have been. Raising is definitely an option. So I just called here, and we're heads up. So the flop comes king, queen, jack, and that just hammers his range. Hammers his range. Yeah, it gives us a straight. Gives us the gut shot. Not the prettiest. And he bets half pot. And the question is, what do I think he's going to bet half pot with? he's probably betting half pot with all of these pairs. Probably, maybe not bottom pair, but I bet middle pair plus, so queens plus. Do I think he's going to be betting with gut shots as well? Yeah, probably. Maybe not the king, maybe not nines. Let's take those out. So not nines. The aces, ace, jack, ace, queen, ace, king, aces. So yeah, high frequency of time he's gonna bet. We have a gut shot. We need 26% equity, or we have 26.8% equity. Pot's offering 25%. So this is basically a break-even call, and I did call. And then the 8 of spades comes out, and at this point we're still just drawing to the gut shot. He checks, and that's actually kind of interesting. So when he checks now, I have to assume that he does not have, that he might not have hit it, connected as strongly as I'm thinking. So I would expect a straight to bet. I would expect a set to bet. I think 2 pair bets. Over pairs the aces. I would have expected aces to bet. I would expect ace king to bet. Ace queen, ace jacks, jack 10, tens. I think all of those might be checking here. And opening the straight draw with the jack 10 could be checking. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot on the turn or river information, so he checks here, and the question is, if I bet, could I get him to lay anything down? And maybe if he has ace queen, ace jack, we might be able to get him to lay down. So if we bet, so that's 38.2% right there. All right, 38.2%. If I bet, what do I think he's going to call with? I think maybe let's just that jack 10 and tens. That might be it. So we would basically put them all in. I kind of think that that's our play. I checked behind. Not sure why I did that. And then the queen comes out. And at that point, I think of all of the hands that he had, of all the hands that he has, 36% of the time he has a queen, 63.64% he's got the weak pair. What does he do? He checks. We should be firing here without a doubt. Queen hits our range, fits our range. I don't think he can call with anything. I mean, would he really think we're bluffing? So I missed it. And we are turning our hand into a bluff because we're hoping to get the jacks to fold. And he shows 7, so that's interesting. I mean, I didn't have it. I didn't have 7s, but maybe that 8 was just, an abnormal hand. So we still have all of this. When he c-bets, we could do pocket pair below the board. I mean, if he c-bets with all of those, and then the 8 of spades hits, I mean, yeah, I'm going to hold true that he's still going to be betting with all of those. Ace queen, maybe. But definitely, I think we fire. We put him to the test. What is it? 27.8. We're betting 27.8 to win +2. So 55%. We have to be good 55%. I think he's only calling if we shove. I can't imagine he's calling with any of those weaker pairs. So I think he's folding, 85% of that right there. It's auto profit spot. And even if called, so even if he has one of these queens that he decides to call with, or, jack 10, that he calls with, I've got 13% chance of winning. So I think I botched this hand. I do think we had our read on him maybe a little bit wider on these pocket pairs. And I think we're okay by calling. We flopped the open-ended straight, even though this board just like hammered his pre-flop raising range. Once he checks that turn, I think we could be confident that he did not hit that board very strongly, and we should have been aggressive. It doesn't matter what we had on that turn, we should be aggressive. All right, so hope you enjoyed these. Look tomorrow for a couple more hands.